The guilds performed various kinds of important functions, including the arbitration to settle differences between members and their wives. They also exercised a considerable control over their members and probably settlement of various disputes amongst members, as well as the solution of various problems of trade and business fell under the jurisdiction of guilds. The isolation of crafts and professions and their concentration in fixed areas led to the birth of a medley of castes and subcastes, which were formerly more or less a priestly hypothesis, now began to harden into rigid social partitions on the basis of occupations, tightened with the bonds of heredity, endogamy and exogamy, rules of the table, etc. The corporate unity combined with localization of industry tended towards a narrowness and exclusiveness. The localization of crafts was also due to the policy of segregation adopted by the higher castes or the king with regard to the people following the heen sippas. Looking down upon the rural mentality, that is Gam Dhamma, made a special appearance. Besides, the caste divisions, which do not seem to have been in any way contained by Buddhism and other heterodox sects, urban and rural division also came to the fore. But one group of people was also side by side cutting against the tendency towards narrowness and exclusiveness. Thus, this group consisted of traders who travelled far with their caravans. This in turn influenced the physical pattern of the urban settlements, for the guilds tended to become localized into zones along specific streets. The proliferation of specialists also led to the specialization in the provision of services. The washerman, barber, garland maker, the carpenter, the scavenger and the like, money, credit, the price system, financial institutions, all were consequences of increased division of labor and specialization. At many places we are also told of the existence of well fortified towns with city gates and wise wardens to watch over the entry and exit points. The emergence of a more complex economy with a greater specialization contributed to the expansion of trade. Some market towns grew up along the trade routes, forming linking points. Thus, scores of routes are mentioned which linked various urban centers to each other, and such routes must have given a decided fillip to urbanization. Trade was carried on briskly by land as well as by various rivers and the sea. The inland and overland trade seems to have been extensive. It was important in itself and also served as a feeder to the sea trade. Well-known seaports like Bharukach and the seaboard of Sovir on the west, Kaveri Pattan and the lesser known ones like Karambia on the southeast are mentioned in the literature. Other than having trade contacts with the inland and overseas centers, a coastal trade must have been maintained between the seaports themselves. Varanasi was perhaps the most important industrial and commercial center of these days. It was reputed to be famous for cotton and silk weaving, and the fine masleva of Kasi is a very common reference in the Pali literature. The great trade route Uttarapath connecting India with Central and Western Asia passed by way of Takshila and presumably also via Sagal, Sialkot. Journeys to distant lands on highways and through the sea are mentioned in the literature. Various concomitants of an expanding economy also began to make an appearance, and some of them were used by the Buddha as similes. They include, for example, debt, interest, usury, and mortgage. The increase in the production of material goods was reflected in the numerous rules that made their appearance in the Vinay Pitaka about the articles of possession permitted for the monks. The growing complexity of the economy as it expanded was naturally expressed through the emergence of a more stratified society. The urban settlements of the Ganga Valley began to develop a style of life which was clearly distinct in many ways from that of villages. As centers of business and trade, they drew in the wealth of the country, and they also became centers of learning and culture, attracting parasitical professionals like stage acting, dancing, singing, buffoonery, gambling, tavern keeping, and prostitution. An expanding material culture brought with it amenities of life for the wealthy, though a town proletariat had arisen which was much poorer than the humble tribesman of olden days. The urban settlements definitely brought with them various types of evils. New groups of merchants and skilled craftsmen were gaining in wealth and influence. Their values were not those of the Vedic priesthood and aristocracy, and they no doubt demanded innovations in the field of religion. This kind of material milieu formed the basis of new faiths like Buddhism.